Your wheelchair has arrived, and the first thing to do is to start unboxing it and check if all your pieces are here. Today we do have a model who is going to help us out. We'll call him Rascal. So the first piece we find in here is one of our carriage pieces. Depending upon the wheelchair you ordered, you might find two of these in different sizes or just one piece. Some animals do have enough variation in their sizes that we do include two different sizes of these. Some of them we only include one. If this piece is not a good fit for your animal, please reach out to us and let us know with photos, and we will create a custom piece just for you to make sure that you have a good fit. There is no charge to receive an extra piece if needed. Second, we have our wheels. So this would be the outside. Here's the inside. You'll notice on the sides there's holes to put bolts through to mount them to the carriage pieces. On the carriage pieces here, we have the mounting locations. This one specifically made the same shape as the nut, so it holds it and you don't need a wrench on this side. The other side is where the bolt comes through from attaching the wheel. Next piece we find is parachute cord with a spring release clasp on it. We'll show you how we use that later. There should be two straps. These are for going around the belly. A hardware kit. This one includes 5 bolts and 5 nuts. You only need 4 for the wheelchair. There is an extra one in case you lose one or in case the threading for some reason doesn't work on one of them. This wheelchair does come with an extra piece, so here's another carriage piece. Either one of the two carriage pieces can be used in assembly of the chair. So we do have two different sizes here. You can see they're significantly different. This wheelchair is designed for guinea pigs. There is a lot of variance in guinea pig breeds and sizes, so we do include two very different sizes of the carriage portions for guinea pigs. We are going to be using the guinea pig design on Rascal, our ferret model, today, because since he's a stuffed ferret, his proportions are not quite the same as a regular ferret, and it will be easiest to demonstrate the wheelchair with using the guinea pig size for him. Should also have some documentation in the box. This is going to be an instructions kit with a graphic drawing of how the wheelchair should be configured for both front leg support and rear leg support. First, we will be demonstrating rear leg support here, after which I'll demonstrate front leg support. So the first thing I am going to do is to find out which carriage size fits best for Rascal. So he looks pretty big. We're going to try the big one first and see how it fits. So the easiest way is to just take the Rascal with the carriage with nothing attached to it, hold it up to your animal, in this case our model Rascal, and see how it fits. So from the bottom side I can already see there's some pretty large gaps here on the side. Front and back it looks like it'd be okay. It fits between his legs. On the side, as we can see, there's a large gap here. I can fit my whole finger in there. So this carriage piece is too wide for him. So we're going to try a smaller piece. So next I'm going to get the smaller one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to hold it up to him. That looks like a pretty snug fit. What you want to check is if this is digging into his sides. If it's actually digging in and could cause pain, we're going to say it's too small. In this case, it just fits perfectly. So it's not digging in, it's snug, it's tight, it's not digging in. It's okay if there's a little gap, but with how big the gap was in the other one, we definitely want to go with the smaller piece. So now that we decided which carriage we're going to use, the next thing we want to do is decide approximately how high we want it. So if you see on the side of the wheels, there's different adjustment points. You can mount it low, you can mount it really high. Once again, if you're ever in a situation where the adjustment is not enough, you can always reach out to us. We can custom design any pieces if needed for your specific use case. We do try to make these as universal as possible for the animal type that you purchase them for. So we hope that it fits the first try, but if we do need to help you out with that, reach out to us please, and we will provide you all the support needed. So to see how high I want this, and now this is adjustable, so you can always change it later, but the first thing I'm going to do is simply hold the carriage piece under him again, take the wheels, and just hold it together on one side. Try to hold the carriage piece level and start lifting it up. As soon as I see that his hind legs are coming off the ground a little bit, I'm going to say that's the correct height. Now, depending upon the mobility of your animal, some of them are able to use their legs, but they just are weak. If that's the case, you're probably going to want them to still be able to touch the ground with their hind legs. So in that case, we would leave it a little lower. If his hind legs were working, I would probably put this in the third hole up from the bottom. If his hind legs are completely disabled and do not function at all, and I don't want him dragging them a lot on the floor, I'm going to take it up a little higher and put it in the second hole from the top. So for this example, for this demonstration, I am going to choose the second hole from the top. But just, you know, trial and error is the best method here. Try one location with your animal. If it works, great. If not, take it off and try a different height and see if that works better. It also is going to take some time for your animal to get used to this. So please keep that in mind. If you have a height that you think looks right, give them some time to adjust to that and get used to it, and they should be able to figure it out on their own, how the wheelchair functions once they've used it a bit. All right, so we're going to attach this together. So we're trying to go into the second holes from the top. So I already opened up my hardware kit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these nuts, and there's a slot on the carriage where they need to go. So we're going to slide it in there. I put it on the top here and just slide it in. Sometimes it falls in perfectly. Sometimes it comes in at an angle. Another thing you can do is you can take this Allen wrench here, and on the bottom side, if it's at an angle, if you just push like right now, well, sometimes it'll do that and fall out as well. But so if it's at an angle there or not in there correctly, you can take the Allen wrench on the bottom, kind of push it up in there a little bit, and just knock it over on its side then, and it'll fall over and be flat and be able to be assembled. Once you have the nut in there correctly, simply take a finger over it and hold your wheels up here. Take one of your nuts, your bolts, stick it through, and grab your Allen wrench and tighten it up. Now you do not want to tighten these very much. Once they're snug, just give it a little extra turn. Don't tighten it too much. They do stick in there pretty well. If you over tighten them, you do risk breaking the plastic. So just try not to over tighten them. All right, so we're going to do the same thing over here. Put a nut in there. I'm going to stick this Allen wrench up from the bottom here to try to straighten it out a little bit here. All right, there we go. It's good to go there. I'm gonna hold a finger on it again and grab another bolt. Once it gets tight, just give it a little extra turn. Like a quarter turn extra once it gets tight is good. All right, so we got one side assembled. Looks like it's gonna roll. We just need to do the other side. Same exact process here. We'll kind of just skip over the next side as we've already seen that on the other side. So once that is done, then we're going to take our straps here. We're going to run them through. There should be 2 slots on the chair for the straps. Simply pull them through. Once you have them pulled through, you'll notice that the one side is fully assembled. You can adjust the length as needed on that side, but on this side, we're going to run the strap through the part closest to the clasp first, and then back down the spot farthest away from the clasps, and it will just hold itself tight with friction once you've done that. So we'll be able to adjust it once we actually put it on. Second strap, same thing. Now, if you get these adjusted and you find that these straps are hanging down a long ways, you can always cut them shorter. If you do that, just make sure to melt the ends just a little bit to keep them from fraying. Now, we come to, well, let me get this extra hardware put away quick just so it's out of our way here. Alright, so these pieces we're not using. We're going to want to hang on to them in case we need to adjust the height down the road though. This piece we're also not using. Depending upon your animal, if you think you may need it in the future, hang on to it. If it's something you're not going to need at all, you can discard that. It is made of recyclable plastic, so please recycle if you are going to discard it. Alright, so we're almost done assembling the wheelchair now. The next thing we are going to do is take our parachute cord. We see these 2 little holes at the front. So for the rear leg design, we do use this parachute cord. We're going to run it up through there and then back down from the top side. So now we can see it pulls there. So when we're using this for rear leg support, this is kind of like a harness. I'll show you how it goes on the animal, but it's used to tow the wheelchair along with them so that we don't have to strap it down too tight on them and make it uncomfortable. Alright, so we're going to demonstrate how this actually fits on the animal now and get our strap length adjusted. So, when you're looking at the wheelchair for rear leg support, this is the back side. The rear leg should be hanging right off there. The front side, it doesn't matter where that falls on the animal, just the rear leg should be right behind the end here. That'll help them balance well and support their rear legs. We don't want it too far forward, as then it'll start supporting them in a different way. So right up to the rear legs. So depending upon body length, you know, it might fall where there's that much space to the front legs with some animals. That's perfectly fine. The important part is snugness to the rear legs. Alright, so we set him down in there with the parachute cord here. You're going to want to give it one twist and bring it between the legs. So it's kind of crosses between his legs. That keeps it from pulling too tight on his legs. Then we're going to go up around his neck, around his head, over his head, around the neck, and just pinch and tighten. Once again, once you've been using this for a bit, you can figure out how long you need these. You can trim them if you want to. Just if you do that, same with the other straps. Melt them just a little bit to keep them from fraying. Alright, so the front strap, if we put that on, it's quite loose right now, so we're going to tighten it up. You can tighten it up on either side, depending upon how you want the strap location balanced. Make it so that it's snug, but not tight. Remember, the parachute cord is what's going to be used to tow the wheelchair, so he can't walk out of the wheelchair. So these, you don't need to tighten down to the level that they're uncomfortable. You want them snug, but not tight. If you can fit a finger back there, and it's really loose, that's too loose. But if just check the snugness. You'll get used to it the more you use it. Different animals, it does work a little differently as well. So trial and error there again on the tightness will be best for you. But try it a few different ways, see what works best. All right, once again, same thing for the back strap. We're going to make it snug but not tight. And now we are good to go. So if you see, we have it set so that his rear legs are completely off the ground. He can pull himself along with his front legs. He's balanced so that it tips forwards. If it's ever balanced so it's tipping backwards, that means that we need it moved back further on the body. And they're not going to be able to pull themselves around if we're trying to give rear leg support and it's tipping the wrong direction. So this is perfect. Should work out well for him. He should be good to go. It will take him a bit to get used to it. The first time you try it, it may be a bit of a disaster. He may be confused as to what's happening. But try to get them enthused about playing, maybe with their favorite toys, maybe get out a treat, try to get them to come to the treat. Use different tricks like that to just get them walking. Once they get walking a little bit and they realize that they're actually able to walk well and they're not struggling like they were before, they'll quickly adapt to using this. Our first ferret, Rascal, when we started using this with him, it took him about 3 days. After 3 days, he would walk up to the wheelchair itself if we left it out for him, and he would poke his nose into it, and then he'd look at us, and then he'd poke his nose back into it and look at us, just waiting for us to attach the wheelchair for him. We like to think he was special. I'm not sure all animals will have that type of a response, but they will get used to using it and be able to use it during their playtime. You just may have to entice them to start walking, to forget that they have the wheelchair attached to them initially, because initially they may just be so focused on this thing attached to their body that they don't try walking. But as soon as you get them to try walking, they'll all of a sudden realize they can walk, and they'll forget that they were having troubles before, and they will quickly adapt from our experience. All right, so that is the rear leg support view. Next, we will move on to front leg support. So for that, I am going to have to disassemble this setup. So for front leg support, I'll demonstrate how it would work with this chair. So if this was a guinea pig, all that we would do for front leg support is take off this parachute cord. The parachute cord is the only part that does not get used for front leg support. Everything else is the same. We would leave the chair assembled exactly as it is, but instead of this being the back of the chair, this would now become the front of the chair. There's these slots built into all the chairs near the axles. When we're using these chairs for front leg support, the front legs go directly between there. Our model here is a little too chubby for that, for this design. Once again, his proportions are not quite accurate, so it makes it difficult to demonstrate, but it's a lot better than having a wiggly ferret that would be a disaster to show this with, but maybe I'll try that down the road. I'll take a bit here to assemble another chair size so that we can demonstrate that. we're going to demonstrate this with a ferret-sized wheelchair. So once again, the parachute cord we will not use for this, so I'm going to set that aside. We have the wheels. You can see they're a little larger than the guinea pig wheels. Ferrets tend to need to be held a little higher off the ground, and this works better. The body here is a bit longer, but the same idea. It has all the same pieces. There's the slots here. There's the mounts for the wheels here. There's the 2 holes here for the front legs to go through if we're using it for front leg support. So it's the same design idea, but just proportions slightly different. So we can modify this design for almost any animal that's smaller than a rabbit. We do custom designs for wildlife rehabbers, for zoos, for animals from other countries that I do not know how to pronounce the names of. So if you have an animal that is smaller than about rabbit size and you don't see them listed on our website, definitely reach out to us and get us some measurements, and we can come up with a design that works for you. Possibly we already have a design that would fit, or we may need to design a new one. All right. So to start out, same situation. We're going to see how high we need it. So we already know we're going with this size of chair for the front leg support for him. So we see the front legs go through the 2 slots that are going to be near the axles, and we're going to see how high we need it. So same situation. If you're just wanting support, but you want their legs to be able to touch the ground, you're going to hold this up, and about there's where I would do it if I wanted him just to have support. If his legs need to be completely off the ground, I'm going to raise that a little higher. Most situations where we're providing front leg support, it has just been partial support. So generally we do leave it down where one or both legs can touch a little bit, so that they can provide some steering there. But if you do have a situation where you need them clear off the ground, you can do that. For this scenario, I'm going to go about right there, which is the 3rd hole up on the side. So once again, we'll go through the assembly process. You've already seen this, so we'll kind of fast forward through it. All right, so chair directions. The high point is always the front of the chair for front leg support. So where this connection is for the parachute cord, that's the rear of the chair for front leg support, and you can just reverse that the opposite if you're doing rear leg support. Next thing we're going to do is run our straps through. Same as before. So you run them through, put it up through the place closest to the slot closest to the clasp, and then back down the outside. And same thing back here. Alright, so we got the straps through. Again, we don't use the parachute cord for this scenario. So what we're going to do now is we're going to test this out. So once again, right between the axles, there should be some slots for the legs to go through for front leg support. This should be there on all of our designs. Your proportions may be slightly different, but the layout should be the same. So we're going to take and put this on Rascal's front legs. So first thing you do is put his legs through. Next, you're going to take the strap in the front, wrap it around his neck, and then we're going to tighten it up. Once again, you want it snug but not over tightened. For this design, it may need a little bit tighter fit than with the parachute cord, but the same idea. You can experiment with that, go looser or tighter based on how it looks like his comfort level is, and adjust as needed. Next, we're going to do it on the back side. That one was pretty good to begin with. And he is set up for front leg support. So his front legs go down right between the axles. One strap in front of his front legs, one strap behind his behind his front legs. And we can see his legs are just barely off the ground. If you tilted them down a little bit, if they're functional at all, they would be able to steer. But you can adjust that as needed based on how you think it works out best. But he is all set to go for front leg support setup. Now, our initial ferret who we designed this for, he used his wheelchair for about 1.5 years before he passed on. We had designed it just for him. We did not expect to make these and sell these for anyone else. Ended up posting an old video of a very old design on YouTube and started having people reach out to us and ask if we could make them for them. So we did start selling them. His design is not nearly as adaptable and functional as this, but it still worked out well for him. So I am happy that we're able to provide these for other ferrets now. But if you do have any questions about your ferret, your guinea pig, or any other animal you are using this for or want to use this for, please reach out and we will do our best to answer and assist however we can.